Side lengths of a triangle. So we got a couple of theorems we're going to look at. The first one we're going to talk about is the triangle longer side theorem. And what it says that if one side of a triangle is longer than another, then the angle opposite the longer side is larger than the angle opposite the shorter side. So if we look here, for example, if we look at this 17 is the longest side. And if we go across here where I've got this arrow, that means A is the biggest angle, okay? So if 9 is our smallest side, which means B is going to be the smallest angle. And so 14 is like our middle side, which means C is going to be our middle angle, okay? And so like the opposite is true as well, the triangle larger angle theorem. And so like if 75 is our biggest angle, that means that side AC, A to C, that's your biggest side, okay? Because think about it, if 75 degrees is the biggest angle, it's opening up the most, it's expanding the most, all right? If 51 degrees here, if that's your smallest angle, then side A to B, that's going to be your smallest side. And then 54, that's our middle, so BC is going to be our middle side. Okay, so for example 1, we're going to list the angles in order from smallest to largest. Okay, so if we do smallest to largest for the angles, we find the smallest side. So our smallest side is 17, so we go across. So angle R is the smallest angle. Then the next smallest side is 21, so we go across. Angle P is next, and then 26 is left, which means angle Q would be the biggest, okay? So on B, it wants us to list the sides in order based on the angles. Now, it doesn't tell us an angle, so what we have to do here, we have to figure out what angle B is. So we got to do a little bit of work. So we need to do 180 minus 44 minus 47. So 180 minus 44 minus 47 is going to give us 89 degrees. So let's fill that in. Okay, so we're going from smallest to largest. Here's the smallest angle, okay? So this side right here, and now we can't just say like side B or side C. We actually have to say side B to C. We have to use it, listen 2 letters. All right. Then our next side is 47. So we go across. So this whole side here, so A to B. And then, of course, A to C is the only one that's left. Okay, so then we have the triangle inequality theorem. So it says the sum of the lengths of any 2 sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. So what it says is when you add, like if you know a number for A and B, side A and B, it has to be bigger than side C. Same thing if you add up A and C, it has to be bigger than side B. And if you add up B and C, it has to be bigger than A. So if we look here, what's the smallest value of X? So all you do, if we're trying to figure out values for X, the smallest value for X is you take 14 and 9, you just subtract them. So 14 and 9 is going to be 5. All right, so it can't be equal to 5. X has to be bigger than 5. It never can equal to it, so it's got to be bigger than 5. Okay, so 5, it's got to be just a little bit bigger than 5. It would be like 5.1. The largest value, so what we do is now we would add the 2. So 14 plus 9 is going to be 23. So we'd say X has to be less than 23. So in inequality, we would write it is we'd write a compound inequality. So X has to be between 5 and 23. It can be any number between 5 and 23. It's got to be bigger than 5, and it has to be less than 23. And we don't want to say 6 because it could be, 5.1. It could be 5.5. And that's like the same thing for 23. We don't want to just go down and say 22 because it could be 22.5. It could be 22.9. Okay, so what we would do here, we're going to do a similar process. So you basically add them and subtract them, and we're going to write a compound inequality just like we did in Part C above. So if we subtract 20 and 12, we get 8. We add 20 and 12, we get 32. And then you put it in a compound inequality. Remember, we talked about compound inequalities before. And you put x in the middle, and the inequalities always point to the left. All right, so subtract 18 and 15, and we get 3. Add 18 and 15, you get 33. Put x in the middle. Oh, I don't know what happened there. And there we go. So it's got to be between 3 and 33. All right, subtract 32 and 24, we get 8. Add 32 and 24, we get 56. Put your x in the middle, and there's our answer. Okay. All right, so describe whether it's possible to construct a triangle with the given side lengths. Okay. So you take your two biggest number, or your biggest and your smallest number, or you take your pairs of numbers, and what you want to do is you want to just make sure that it doesn't equal the third number. Okay. So for example, 10 and 9, if you subtract 10 and 9, we get 1. And 1 is smaller than 4. Okay, so 4 is bigger than 1, so we're okay. So like 1 is less than 4, so that's okay. All right, so then you take your two smallest numbers, 4 and 9, and you add those together. And you get, oops, not 14, sorry, that should be 13. Okay. And 13 is bigger than 10. Okay. So you want to take your two biggest numbers and subtract them. You want to make sure that that number is less than that third number. And you want to take your two smaller numbers and make sure that it's bigger than your third number. And as long as that's true, then it's a yes. Okay? All right, so take our two biggest numbers, so 9 and 18, so we'll do 18 minus 9, and we get 9. So on this one, 9 is not less than 8. So 9 is actually bigger than 8, so this one is going to be a no, because that number has to be less than your third number. Okay? All right. So on this one, we take our two biggest numbers, the 12 and the 7, subtract. This one equals 5. Well, 5 equals 5. So that is a no as well, because it has to be less than that third number. So remember, when you subtract the two biggest, it must be less than the third number, or the third side. I guess I should say side right there. Okay? And then when you add the two smallest, it must be greater than the third side. And as long as that works out, then it's a yes. But if either one of those are not true, it's a no. Okay. So for example 5, list the sides in order from shortest to longest. Okay, so this is similar to the one that we did earlier. We need to figure out what C is. So we need to do 180 minus 62 minus 83. So that gives us 35 degrees. Okay. So our shortest side, so here's our shortest angle. So our shortest side is AB. Here's our middle angle. So this is our next side. So that's going to be BC, which means AC is next. Okay, so once again, we need to figure out what that angle is. So 180 minus 82 minus 27 is going to equal 71 degrees. So smallest angle runs into the smallest side. So MT is the smallest side. 71 is next. It runs into AM, which means AT is the biggest side. And then for our last one, we're constructing a stage prop that shows a large triangular mountain. The bottom edge of the mountain is about 32 feet long. Okay. The left slope is about 24 feet long, and the right slope is about 26 feet long. Okay. List the angles of the triangle JKL in order from smallest to largest. Okay, so we're doing smallest first. So 24 is my smallest side, which means angle L is my smallest angle. Then my next smallest side is the 26, so angle J would be next. So angle K would be last.